On this week's episode of Fishing 411 TV, Mark Romanak hooks up with the legendary river guide Frank Campbell of the Niagara Region Charter Service. The lower Niagara River attracts a mixed bag of lake trout, steelhead, and brown trout in the late fall, and the fishing is excellent throughout the winter. Guides in this region use a three-way swivel rig to present a host of baits including minnows, spawn, and even wobbling plugs. Fishing on the Niagara River is always exciting because you never know what bait you'll be using or what kind of fish you're likely to catch.
Fish on?
Fish on.
Yeah, baby.
Oh. And the real challenge is going to be trying to fight a fish and control this boat at the same time. Can you just drift back downstream on them, Frank, after you hook one?
Yep, that's all we're going to do, Mark. We'll do
all
whatever
right.
we need to do.
What I'm going to try and do here is just turn off the electric motor and just drift downstream with this fish.
My guess is probably a nice brown, Mark. We've been catching a good number of browns.
Looks like maybe you're right. Saw a little bit on the tail there that would suggest that that would be true.
Yeah, it's crazy, you know. You never know what's going to be on the end of the line, but we've been catching a lot of browns. So.
Let's take a closer look at this one. That's what
nice
we're looking
brownie.
for. Beautiful fish. Thank you, Captain Frank.
It's a good bait.
Wow, that is beautiful.
Beautiful fish, Mark.
Well, you look around here, you might get an idea where we're at. We're fishing in the lower Niagara, and we're with legendary Captain Frank Campbell, who puts us on a fish in, what, 5 minutes?
The fish have to cooperate. They make me look good.
Well, they're making you look very good right now, Frank. I can't appreciate this enough.
Beautiful fish.
Now, is this about average size, or I know you catch them much bigger?
It's a little bit smaller, Mark. You could tell that it's a spawned out female.
Okay.
She doesn't have the belly anymore, so she spawned probably a couple weeks ago. The neat thing about down here where we're fishing anywhere on the Niagara River is we don't know what's going to be on the end of that line. Brown, steelhead, laker, walleye. We've been catching bass. It's crazy. Caught a nice muskie the other day.
Wow.
It's like, guess what's on the end of the line day?
Well, that's exactly what I was hoping for. I love brown trout. That's what we traveled all the way here to catch. So we'll see you again the same time next year, girl.
What we're doing today is we're running three-way swivels with mag lips as the business end of the three-way off of about a 4-foot, 5-foot leader, and then we drop a 6 or 8 pound test piece of line down to the pencil lead. So we're essentially bottom bouncing, but the neat thing about this is we're actually going downstream with the current. So the fish are facing up into the current, and we're bringing those baits downstream. It's a little unique way to fish, but it's pretty doggone productive here on the Niagara.
And our guest on this week's episode is Frank Campbell. We've known Frank for a long time. We've fished with him many, many times. In this particular part of the world, he's legendary in his ability to catch these cold water species. Trout and salmon, definitely, he's all over that. He's also great on smallmouth, walleye, you name it. If you're looking for a charter trip, you're going to want to look up Frank Campbell.
The neatest thing I think is we don't know what's on the end of this line. Might be another nice brown, could be a steelhead, laker. Feels like a little better fish. We're gonna see him here in a second. We're fishing fairly shallow for us. We're only in about 15 feet of water, so wow, beautiful brownie. Oh man.
Nice looking brown.
Beautiful.
Very nice.
All colored
brown.
up, female.
Whoa, you gotta hop in the boat
I think she
here.
wants to jump in the boat.
Net.
That's pretty crazy.
We got him on the downwind side here, which is probably the wrong side for landing him, but we'll make it work.
That's right. That's why we're considered pros, right?
Well, I'm not a pro until I get it in the net. There we go.
All right, you're a pro.
Now I'm a pro. Very nicely done, Frank. That's a beautiful fish right there.
Yes, it is.
Very nice fish.
Beautiful brownie. It's a female, and it looks like she still has a few eggs in her, so we'll let her go and let her grow and let her do her business. But, you know, typical lower Niagara River December brown.
Beautiful. Love these brown trout.
Yes. And you want to know what, Mark? You don't know if they're going to be big, small, but there's a lot of them in here, so.
All right, well, that is a beautiful thing. Let's see what we can do about getting another one of these.
Yep, we'll let her go.
Special considerations provided by Eagle Claw, the only fish hooks made in America. Additional considerations provided by Fish Hawk Electronics. Trolling without a fish hawk is called boating.
Yeah, there is a fish. You are so, oh, what a jumper. What a jumper, man. That is so cool. Oh my goodness. I love this stuff. You know, the weather is lousy. I'll be the first to admit the weather is just plain lousy, but the fishing is absolutely excellent. Excellent. Oh.
I think it's going to be a nice male brown, Mark.
I believe you are right, because he had a lot of color when he came up out of the water. And just like you said, he just hammered that maglip. I mean, hammered it.
It was crazy. I saw the bite from over here. Oh, look at that.
Look
Nice.
at that. Oh!
The agony of defeat.
I think I farmed him. All right. He was a beautiful fish. You're just going to have to take my word for it. But man, there'll be another one.
Absolutely. We just let him grow, let him go, and let him get a little bigger for the next drift.
Normally I like to put my hands on him first, but maybe next time. But that was a pretty fish. That was fun. Coach me a little bit here, Frank. What kind of speed are we trying to make as far as for moving along? I'm a troller, so I'm always thinking about speed.
Well, the thing here, Mark, is we're going downstream, so you want to just go a little bit faster than the current. But we have so many other variables involved today. We have the wind blowing at our backs. We have a swell from the waves from yesterday. So I don't think that speed is really imperative. I think it's more how are our lures working. And with the maglips, you can actually tolerate a lot of different stuff and still get good action out of them. I think the imperative thing is that the lures are working and that they're working at a speed the fish want, and so far we've been doing it. So.
One thing I can tell for sure is we can tell when the lures are working. You can feel the vibration right into the rod handle.
Oh, exactly.
Which is a nice thing. So you can tell when that plug is wobbling. So if you pick up any debris like a weed or a lot of leaves in the water this time of year,
exactly
you know
what just happened to me. You know, my lure lost some of its action and caught me, but that's not how it's supposed to be. And what's on there? There's some weeds. You know, it's the very end of the season. As far as the weeds, they're dying, but they're still down there. So if your lure's not working or you're not getting the proper action, give it a quick check. It's well worth the 10 seconds, 30 seconds that you're out of the water and you're back in there doing things appropriately.
Hook up. All right.
Boy, when they hit these, they want them. I mean, I don't think that they can resist. Nice thing is the water's a little bit stained, so we're running, maglips, but we're running the colors that we felt would be most productive, and I believe I have on double tail chartreuse. And Mark, what are you running the color that we came up with here on the river?
Green Machine, I believe we call
Machine.
it. And oh yeah, another brown.
Another brown.
And it was we wouldn't have that color if it wasn't for you local guides. And it's turned out to be a great color, not only here but many other places as well. He wants to swing around here and get himself a little bit more where he needs to be. There we go. Nicely done, Frank.
Nicely
Nicely
fish.
done.
Another nice
very good looking fish right there.
Yeah, very, very similar in the size of all these fish, but I'm not going to complain. So she's spitting her eggs. That's crazy. Beautiful fish. Obviously spawning. We're going to let her go, let her do her business. But you know, the interesting thing, Mark, is these fish are spawning, but they're in all different phases of the spawn. That fish was definitely spawning. She was spitting eggs. We got her back to do her business. But some of these fish are done spawning. Some of them haven't spawned. It's crazy. That's the nice thing. We've probably got about 6 weeks worth of 8 weeks worth of good brown trout fishing along with everything else.
Special considerations provided by Daiwa Corporation and Motor Guide. Fight fish, not your trolling motor. Special considerations provided by the Ultimate Sport Show Tour, Michigan's elite sport shows. Eagle Claw presents the 411 on fishing.
You know, if you're a walleye fisherman like I am, you probably enjoy fishing crawler harnesses. Crawler harnesses are iconic when it comes to catching walleye. And the cool thing is that if you tie your own harnesses and catch fish on them, nothing's more satisfying than that. In recent years, a lot of folks have been using red anodized hooks to tie their harnesses, and they look great, no doubt about it. It's a fish catching presentation. But the problem with anodizing is it's not a durable finish. It comes off the hooks very, very quickly. Now, Eagle Claw has solved that problem because their octopus laser sharp hooks come in a variety of different fish catching colors. It's a painted on process that's very durable, and that paint's going to stay on that hook for years and years. You know, there's another thing I like about the Eagle Claw laser sharp hooks. The shaft itself is painted, but the hook eye is not, so it's easy to put your leader in there. You don't have to knock the paint out of there. And the hook point is not painted, so it's laser sharp. They come in half a dozen different sizes, including my favorite, that happens to be chartreuse. Now you can make your own custom crawler harnesses using whatever color hooks you want. You gotta love that.
Yes.
I'll get reeled up here and
Feels like a little better fish. It's hard to tell. I mean, we're running lighter line with lighter rods with lighter lines, so you really can't horse them, but it's a fish. We know that.
if you need some coaching on how to lose them, I can show you exactly how to do that.
No, I'm pretty good at that myself, Mark.
Oh.
I prefer not to lose them, but
I haven't eyeballed this one yet. It's staying down real nice, but
yeah.
Have you seen him yet?
No, I haven't. He's taking a little bit of line.
Ooh,
it feels like a little heavier fish, but again, you never know. These rods are matched up pretty nicely to the tackle we're using and the fish.
Yep. You got 10-pound on there, fluorocarbon, and then that rod's about a medium action. Oh, that's not brown.
A little better. Oh, yeah.
Another nice brown.
Nice hooked up
Look at
nail.
that.
Exactly what.
Beautiful.
As a matter of fact, I think he has a hook mark in his mouth from you losing him earlier. Sorry, Mark.
I guess I deserve that. I guess I deserve that, but we'll take our lumps on that one, as long as he comes in the boat. Look at the way he ate that mag lip. He's got it right down his throat.
It's unbelievable how much they want these things.
He just chewed on that.
Chewed on it. Beautiful fish. We talked about the kite on them, the hook jaw. We talked about how they'd be a little bit more in spawning colors. And it almost seems like we know what we're talking about. These fish are cooperating.
Also, just a little modification there. You notice there's no hook on that belly. I see you like to take the belly hook off.
We do, Mark, and one of the reasons is because our hook up to land ratio seems to be a little bit better, but also we get less snags. That's probably the biggest key is we're pulling through weeds, we're pulling through rocks, a lot of snags. I mean, you got to have contact with the bottom, so that middle hook goes on most of our mag lips, and it seems to work. It doesn't affect the action of the lure. That's the biggest thing.
Cool. Very, very cool.
And away she went.
There we go. There we go.
What did we just call out the sweet spot, Mark?
Yes, we just called that the sweet spot. And I got a little cocky on the last one. I'm not going to get so cocky on this one. I'm going to take my time on this fish and see if we can't put this one in the boat here, redeem myself. What a fun way to fish. Hands-on fishing.
Ready, Mark.
Oh yeah. I keep him in the water. Nice brown.
Nice female brown, huh?
Yeah. If I can get him up here where you can see him.
A little bit more.
Oops, sorry about that.
That's all right. We got it. The water's a little bit stained. Oh, it's a little better one, huh?
Well, and that's not a bad thing, right? I mean, the stained water is part of the reason why they're biting these plugs, right?
Exactly. I'd prefer to fish stained water with plugs all day long. You know, I think you're keying in on a couple different senses of the fish.
A couple things keep jumping out to me. I mean, it doesn't seem to be a color thing because we're using two different colors. They're both getting bit, but overwhelmingly, look how they're chewing on the mag lip. I mean, they're just choking them. I mean, they want these baits. There's no question whether it's they think it's food or whether they just just irritates them. They want these baits, there's no question about it. You know, one of the things we discussed about plug fishing is the water clarity and how important that is. When we first started fishing, we had what I would describe as stained water, and that's nearly ideal for plug fishing conditions. But as the day progressed, the water actually got darker, it got dirtier, and our fishing actually slowed down. One of the things you can do to mitigate that problem when that happens is you can also add scent products to your plugs. By offering a scent product on the plug, not only do you have that nice action and wobble and vibration and noise of the plug, but you also have a scent stream in the water. And if you're going to add a scent stream, I recommend that you do something that's real natural to the environment. Well, here locally, what these brown trout are eating are gizzard shad. So we use ProCure gizzard shad formula. But if you came here at a different time of year, say you came here in the springtime and we're fishing for browns, it's smelt that they're eating at that time of year. Another good choice here is alewife, because those are the three primary bait fish you're going to find in this area. So if you're using alewife, gizzard shad, or smelt, it's a very good likelihood you're going to have great success on brown trout, maybe steelhead, and also lake trout.
Special considerations provided by Trailmaster Boat Trailers and Lakeside Motorsports. Special considerations provided by ProCure, ruthlessly effective bait scents.
This week's episode is set in a place called Lewiston, New York, and it's the lower Niagara River. We've been here many times in the past and we've targeted all kinds of different species, but we've never been here to specifically fish plugs in the river for cold water species like brown trout, and that's exactly what this episode is all about. Well, Frank, I've been fishing here in the Niagara River quite a few years now, and pretty much year-round. You have a unique fishery that you do have a trout and salmon fishery pretty much 12 months out of the year.
Oh, that's exactly it, Mark. I mean, it just depends on what you want to catch, or if you're not particular on what you want to catch, you can come here anytime. I mean, the neat thing is we have a scenario today where we have a pretty lot of wind. We're in December, we have a lot of wind coming out of the north today. Most places you wouldn't be able to fish. We can't go out on the bar, but the river is not a bad alternative. I mean, we're fishing, we're catching fish, and the conditions aren't crazy. They're not perfect, but they're not crazy. If you go further upriver, you're gonna have less wind. So it always affords you the opportunity to fish. You're not gonna drive here and not be able to fish. It's pretty crazy. You know, we're catching these fish in about 15 feet, and that's where they want to be. We've tried shallower, tried deeper, and the effective area is about 15 feet, a couple feet either way. Oh yeah, she's gonna come up. It's great. The water is so stained that you can't really even see these fish till they till you get them right near the net.
There we go. Very nice. Very nice.
Nice little fat girl.
Oh, she spit the bait right there. That'll be an easy one to unhook and let go. Most of the fish have been pretty much about that average size right there.
Probably 6 pounds, somewhere in that range. But we've had a couple that were pushing double digits.
So these are, correct me if I'm wrong, 4-year-old fish, 3-year-old fish?
Yeah, I would say in that range, 3 to 4 year old probably browns.
Yep.
But they're all up here for one reason, and that's to spawn and eat, and we're finding the eating part.
Yeah, right now it's the chow.
Yep.
And we're seeing a lot of that going on.
Yep.
Great fish. You know, when you're plug fishing, it's very important that you have action in your plugs, and the way you're going to have that action in the plugs is to go slightly faster than the current. If the wind is blowing the same direction as the current, you can just turn the boat sideways and the boat will drift a little faster than the current and your plugs will wobble and you'll get great action. If unfortunately the wind is coming the opposite direction, fighting against the current, then you're going to have to use an electric motor to actually pull the boat downstream in order to get that action. When you understand that that plug has to wobble and to get that action, you'll be able to catch a lot more fish. Let's talk a little bit about the rods and reels you'd use for this style of plugging. And it's a little different than you might imagine. If you're a steelhead guy, you're thinking, well, I got my steelhead rods, I can use that. Probably not the best choice. And I'll let Frank explain why.
You know, Mark, you talked about not the traditional steelhead rods. These are probably a little bit more in tune with bass fishing. 7.5 foot rods, but the key is that they have lighter tips on them, which allows that lure to work. And actually, when the fish hold on to your plug or pull on that plug, they actually don't feel the rod resistance. So it's important to have a softer tip with a decent butt in it, but also another reason for 7 foot rods is because you can feel the contact a little bit better. You know, it has enough sensitivity to it that I know when that sinker's dragging along bottom, when that lure's working right or not working right, and I think that that's the key. So you get longer rods, you lose a lot of that feel. I apologize.
What's a hot hand, man? Go for it.
I'm telling you. You know, it's
You got a good rod bend on that one.
Yeah. They all feel like good fish. Just some are just a little bit better than others. You know, it's crazy because it's not taking us a ton of time to get them in, but we're only in 12, 15 feet of water. You know, you're talking a little bit about water clarity, but this is like ideal for plug fishing. I wouldn't want it any clearer or any more stained.
Beautiful fish. Oh, just a smidge closer. The old sinker's trying to get me in the head. There we go. There we go. Well, and actually elaborate on that. I think you're right. I mean, the problem with plugs is that people think that they work better in clear water. Actually, that's not true. They work better in stained or off-color water, and the fish can see the plug, they can hear it, they can feel it, but they can't scrutinize it.
Exactly.
And so it looks like something good to eat. And so the conditions today are just about perfect for plug fishing.
Oh, I think you're getting that. That fish has to make a giant brown just came up right there.
What was that?
That was a big brown, the one we should have had, but you know, we were talking about plug fishing, but you don't give the fish time. You know, they're reacting. You're getting their reaction bite. It's coming by, boom, they're grabbing it. Like you said, they can't see, is that a plug? Is that a piece of live bait? No, they're hitting it, and they're obviously hitting it pretty well today.
There's no question about that. Well, I hope you enjoyed this week's adventure brown trout fishing on the lower Niagara River. Special thanks go out to Frank Campbell of the Niagara Region Charter Service. He put us on some great fish. If you find yourself in that region around December, anytime in the month of December, you're going to find great brown trout fishing action. And my name is Mark Romanak. Hope to see you here same time, same place on Fishing 411.
Closed captioning provided by Lakeside Motorsports, Michigan's premier marine and power sports dealer. Fishing 411 is brought to you by Offshore Tackle Company, Evinrude Outboards, Starcraft Marine, Cisco Fishing Systems, Yakima Bait, Jay's Sporting Goods, Niagara Falls, USA, Smooth Move Seats, Lowrance Electronics, and by Precision Trolling Data.
You know, this is Jake's boat, and I kind of got a kick out of those eggs squirting on the floor there, because if he saw that, he'd just be rolling his eyes like, oh man, that's trashing my boat. He loves this boat. And I love it too, but a few eggs, that can't hurt anything, can it?
Well, as long as I don't step on them too much. Sorry.